How are you guys doing? Today I want to talk about a topic that I get asked a lot of times. I want to give you my opinion on now how I feel about it and obviously how I felt about it as a debt collector. What I want to talk about is, should I mail in my payment to the debt collection agency? Should you do it? Shouldn't you? Stay tuned. My name is Jay and welcome to Ask a Debt Collector. Now, I've been in the debt collection industry for over 15 years. I've done it all, from skip tracing to collecting to management, and I've owned 2 debt collection agencies. For the past 8 years, I've been the go-to guy for friends and family for questions regarding debt and credit, and now I want to be that person for you. If you have any questions, put them down in the comment section. I promise I'll answer those questions. Let's go. If you haven't had time, take the time to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel so that this message can get to more and more people on the education of credit and debt. Also, this month alone, I've been promoting it all month. If you're looking at credit repair, you're looking at a DIY packet to do your credit repair on your own, email me at askadebtcollector@bearrecovery.com. I have 50% off on those things. So if you're interested, email me. If you are looking for a free pay to delete letter, all I ask you to do is to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Once you do that, send me an email and I'll send you a free pay to delete letter. Also, if you want credit repair, but you don't really understand what's going on, you want a consultation, I'm doing free consultations to sort of kind of figure out where you're at, what's going on, the best plan, and then obviously if you want to hire me to help you clean up your credit, you can do so. You have that option, but free consultations. Lastly, books, dreams, and financial things. A podcast I do with my wife. We're talking about our life, our blended family, all of those types of things. We're going to start recording in August. But we do have about 38 episodes or more, maybe 40 episodes up wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to get caught up, you can listen to that first season there. So check us out there. Mailing in payments is something that I think maybe 90% of consumers, when I would get them on the phone, would ask if they can do. I don't have a problem with it per se, as long as ultimately the consumer does what they say they're going to do. But let's get into, what transpires when someone's wanting to mail in payments. My history of doing it in about 13 years of collecting. The reality is, one of the things I always ask myself when a consumer states that is, do you really want to pay, right? The reason why I ask that is, in my experience, when someone says, I get them on the phone, maybe 5-10 years ago, there were a lot more people who just didn't have checking accounts. And the type of accounts that I was dealing with, which were payday loans, typically that type of consumer, they're hard money loans, so that type of consumer's credit is not good, most likely, and things are sort of kind of tough with them. So a lot of times I'll talk to them, and then you find out they don't have a checking account because they've been sent to check systems, or they messed up their checking account, or whatever the circumstance is. And so in that case, hey, you don't have a checking account, you don't have any credit cards. How are you going to pay? How are you going to take care of stuff with regards to that? But now, as time progressed with online shopping and all that type of stuff, you got to have something, a Visa, MasterCard, prepaid account, or something along those lines with regards to paying. But in my experience, whenever I've gotten people on the phone and they said, okay, yeah, I'll mail in the payment, only 10 or 20% of the time they actually make the payment. They actually send the payment. They'll mail the payment. And out of that 10 or 20%, if it's monthly payments, they may mail the first or second payment, then I'll never hear from them again. But that's one of the things that I think of. Now, the people who normally make their monthly payments that I have clients even up until today that I've been dealing with for probably 5 years that make their monthly payments on large balances. Typically, the people who typically follow that, if they don't set up a check by phone or credit card by phone transaction and they mail it, are people who are on fixed income, right? Because typically, if you're on a fixed income, you know exactly how much money you're getting. You pretty much have a few bills that you have to pay, and then whatever's left over typically a habitual thing, you're going to make your payments. So typically out of that 10 to 20% of people who actually make their payments each month, 90% of them are people on fixed income, typically older consumers who are on fixed incomes. Now let's get into what I recommend. If you're going to do mail-in payments, the only way I really recommend that you do that is if you're sending monthly payments on balance in full. So in other words, if you had a balance of $3,000 and you were making $50 a month payments and it was on the total balance, then I recommend that you do send it. Send your $50, try and set it up to where, it's towards the end of the month so that way, the company knows that the payments are coming in monthly and you're doing your thing. Now, I'm going to give you 2 reasons why I wouldn't recommend you do it. Don't do it if you are paying a one-time payment. So, like in the last video that I talked about, if you got a $1,000 payment, they give you a 50% settlement. They say the payment has to be in our office by, let's say, the 15th of the month. And you're, maybe it's the 2nd or 3rd of the month. And they're saying that payment has to be in our office by the 15th. Typically, you can give yourself a week, 2 weeks, and mail in the payment. Now, you can't guarantee that the post office is going to get that payment in the office by the 15th, the close of business day. It's typically what we would do if we made a settlement arrangement with you. Now, if it doesn't come in and it comes the day after, then what happens is per the contract, it's null and void. They'll take that $500, put it towards the balance, and then you're going to end up paying more with regards to that. Now, if you're going to send, certified mail or overnight payment or something along those lines with the tracking number, sometimes you can get away with that. But if you're just going to mail it with a regular, I believe it's 60 cents or 65-cent stamp, I wouldn't recommend sending it that way. Another thing is if you're doing monthly payments, but you got a settlement. So what I'm saying in that aspect is your balance is $1,000. They let you settle for $700, but they allow you to do that in 3 monthly payments. And it has to be in the office on the 15th of each month. Then in that case, I wouldn't recommend just mailing your payment regular mail. Number one, you're going to pay a little bit more money. You got to get an envelope. You got to pay for the stamp, which is relatively small, but then you got to trust the post office to actually get it to the collection company at the specific date. And if it's not in on those due dates, then you're going to end up having to pay the full balance. I've seen a lot of debt collectors do that to consumers where they'll say, oh yeah, mail in your payment. They're hoping that you default so that way at the end of everything, you pay your $700, you still have a $300 balance. They can get more money from you. So those are the 3 reasons why I wouldn't recommend that you do it. The reality is a lot of people a lot of times don't want to pay either a check by phone or a credit card by phone. When I say a credit card by phone, we're talking about a debit card linked to a checking account. A lot of consumers feel like, oh, I don't want the debt collection agency to have my checking information, right? I don't want that information out there. Someone can steal it, someone can get it. One of the things I always tell you is you're federally insured through your bank account up to, I believe, $250,000 to $300,000 in your checking account. I'm pretty sure your amount of money that you're paying that debt collection agency is a lot lower than that amount. So, beware with that. But what I recommend that you do, if you are paying on a debt that you have with a collection company, you're uncomfortable with giving your checking information and all of that type of stuff, always recommend people, especially for probably about the last year, I've always recommended people you pay with an actual credit card. You pay with a credit card. Now you may be looking at me and saying, why would I pay a debt with a credit card? Well, obviously, if you follow me, you know that you use your credit cards like debit cards. So if you paid a payment through a credit card, obviously you have it in your bank account. Don't do it if you don't have the money in your bank account because you're just sort of kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul. But if you have the money in your checking account, you don't want to give your checking account, pay with that credit card. As soon as the credit card transaction clears and it's paid, you can pay it back through your checking account to pay that actual credit card. And that way it's a lot better because with Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover, a lot of times if you're disputing stuff, it makes it a lot easier when it's through a credit card versus giving someone a check by phone, right? Paying through a checking account. So if you can pay through a credit card, pay that way. But obviously make sure you have the money in the bank account to actually pay it so that way if anything goes wrong, you're able to pay it that way. So that's what I recommend that you do. Now, if you have any questions about debt or credit? Put them down in the comment section. If you have any questions with regards to melon payments, which is what I'm talking about, put them down in the comment section. I promise I'll answer those questions. And as always, you be great.